I now call on Stuart Stevenson, Minister, about 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, and thank you to everyone for what's a pretty clear affirmation right across the Chamber, despite some detailed disagreements, that we all want to see this taken forward. This is a project that can be of fundamental benefit to Scotland and, as Alec Johnson referred to, deliver key environmental benefits in the south east of the UK. I'm glad that Lord Adonis is an enthusiast for rail generally and is now in charge. I think, yes, Charlie's an old railwayman, but nonetheless his thinking is still fully engaged. One thing I'd like to just invite members to consider. There's been a thread running through this that flying is actually significantly faster than the rail. Actually, in city centre to city centre, I think the difference is probably arguably only about 1 hour. It's much closer than we imagine it is. I'm not saying that to dispute the 3-hour tipping point. I think that is absolutely right. I had occasion leaving a committee in Parliament here at 12:10 for a 3:30 meeting in London. Quite heroic efforts got me door to door in 2 hours 45 minutes. But that included using a motorcycle between Heathrow and Whitehall, which took 32 minutes. I commend it for its excitement, if not for its environmental friendliness. But the point being, the times are closer than we sometimes think. Equally, I think we don't want to talk rail down in fares terms. I think it's very disappointing to hear, as we did today, of rail fares going up by some 11% between Edinburgh and London. On the company concerned National Express, that doesn't affect their internal fares in Scotland, so that I understand. So that's relatively good news. But actually, if you're prepared to book as far ahead on the railway as you're generally prepared to get a good fare on the airlines, then the difference in fare is not really all that substantial. But I think the plea that Rob Gibson made for a simplification of the fare structure is a point that's well made. Steps have been made at the UK level, but I think there is certainly more can be done. Alison McInnes said parallel lines don't meet. Sorry, as a mathematician, I suggest you put your parallel lines on opposite sides of a Mobius strip. You will find that they actually do, but that's one of these mathematical tricks that is always interesting to debate. Rob Gibson made a point I'm slightly surprised others didn't make, about Sunday service breaks. I think one of the key challenges for Network Rail is to deliver a true 7-day service across GB. I know that North and South, both neighbouring administrations, are fully engaged with Network Rail on that side. Let me just compare and contrast the roles of SDPR and NPF. NPF is about planning, so therefore it's appropriate to consider the incorporation of high-speed rail in the national planning framework so as to facilitate and ease the way for the planning. The SDPR is about the spending plans of this government. The high-speed rail is a responsibility in financial terms for the UK government. I wish it were otherwise, but that's the way it is. Interestingly, the British Waterways Board is a cross-border authority, meaning that the two ministers, north and south of the border, share joint responsibility for canals. It might be interesting to explore in future whether that would be a good model for railways as well. And adjacent administrations can work well together. Dublin and Belfast have worked tremendously well together to improve the railway connection between those two cities. A devolved administration working with a sovereign administration. There are some good models there for us to look at. We certainly need to make sure, and we will push, that as development spreads out from London, as I expect it's likely to, that we see benefits in Scotland, because I think that is very important indeed. I wish I had the flexibility that Jane Davidson, the Labour member in the Welsh Assembly Government, who has responsibility for the environment. She's able to go everywhere by rail because she doesn't always have to be back for votes. She even managed to go by rail from Cardiff to Poznan last year. I have to say it took her 4 days round trip, So there are parts of Europe where the challenge is still very substantial. But we will be doing work on the Scottish aspects of the HS2. We hope to be doing that at the turn of the year. We will work very enthusiastically with colleagues in the South. I very much welcome this debate as a useful contribution that will inform all those who have a role to play in this. Presiding Officer.